Hey everyone, Rho here. Today we are ranking the major orders of the Adepta Sororitas. Who is on the brink of destruction, and who is poised for glory. No real need for a spoiler warning today, so we are just going to jump straight in. Now, while the bulk of the 40k narrative is spent upon the Adepta Astartes, the Space Marine chapters famously turning back the tides of darkness, there are, in truth, no Imperium servants more loyal, more faithful, more selfless than the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle. These women spend their lives in servitude to the God Emperor, warriors with no genetically engineered enhancements, but with faith. And in this new age of true darkness, perhaps it is with them that true hope now lies, for with them the Emperor's light is carried. Of the 6 major orders, none have been immune to the tragedy that has befallen the galaxy, and each in their own way has suffered with the rise of the ruinous powers. But which of them has suffered greatest? And which of them are best poised to take the fight back to the enemy? Who has weathered the storm the best? Well, that's what we'll be discussing today, ranking them from weakest to strongest, based on their current situations. So that's the 6 major orders: Order of the Bloody Rose, Our Martyred Lady, Valorous Heart, Sacred Heart, Ebon Chalice, and the Argent Shroud. As always, this is just my opinion. Agree or disagree, that's the beauty of these discussions. Drop your own rankings and thoughts in the comments below. So with all that out the way, to start us off in 6th place, I have the Argent Shroud. Now normally whenever we're doing a ranking, I find it pretty tricky settling on someone to be the very bottom. However, not so much this time. The Order of the Argent Shroud felt the emergence of the Great Rift worse than most. With their territory located predominantly close to the galactic centre, they were left perilously close to the Great Rift tearing its way across the galaxy, and many worlds disappeared completely within the flood of the Immaterium. Simply put, the Argent Shroud became overwhelmed by the forces of chaos, and in the desperate years following the fall of Cadia, the Order was believed lost in its entirety. However, recently that notion has proven false, and the Sisters of the Argent Shroud have appeared in battle zone after battle zone. All along the Great Rift, the Sisters have appeared to aid the forces of the Imperium, and it is now undeniable the Order has survived, continuing to fight on despite the odds. Now, how much of their territory remains standing is the question. Considering its proximity to the Rift, and the general belief they'd been wiped out entirely, I find it hard to believe they haven't suffered grievously. And whatever sanctuary worlds and convents that do still stand, must undoubtedly be under constant assault. For me, there's no way in these kind of circumstances the Order is not on anything other than life support. Simple things such as resupply and recruitment must be nigh on impossible. So the reality of their fate could well be down to a simple war of attrition, one that, at present, they seem very unlikely to win. So for me, the Argent Shroud unfortunately has to open up our rankings. Next in 5th, I have the Valorous Heart. Now the Order of the Valorous Heart is located across the Great Rift, far out onto the galactic east border. As such, they are about as far away from the light of terror as you can get, figuratively and literally plunged into the darkness of Imperium Nihilus. Now the Valorous Heart aren't the only order trapped across the Great Rift. However, there's a couple of things that place them in a trickier situation for me. Firstly, their proximity to the Somnium stars. If rumours are to be believed, this warp rift is the staging ground for the assembling Fallen Legion. A conclave of traitor Astartes amassed to Legion strength is a truly devastating prospect, and one that possibly could come crashing into the Order's future. Every world within Imperium Nihilus is already fighting for its survival. You add a traitor legion to the mix, it makes it even more perilous. Secondly, the Fallen are not the only known enemy on the Order's doorstep, for the infamous Necron Pharaon Imhotep the Stormlord claims a vast portion of the Order's worlds for himself. The Sortek dynasty ascendant across the Eastern Fringe. With these two threats combined, on top of the already tough fight for survival all worlds face across the Rift, makes the Valorous Heart's ranking hard to place any higher. Moving on in fourth, I have the Order of the Sacred Rose. My personal favourite order. Now, like the Valorous Heart, the Sacred Rose are located across the Great Rift, far out to the Imperium's northern border, cut off far from the light of Imperium Sanctus. However, unlike the Valorous Heart, the Sacred Rose don't have two major threats upon their very doorstep. So while far from safe, they at least appear to be in a stronger situation than their fellow Order. And really, considering the nightmare situation Imperium Nihilus is, the Order of the Sacred Rose appears to be weathering the storm fairly well. The 8th and 9th edition codex both state that few of the Order's worlds have fallen, and that contrary to the rest of Imperium Nihilus, the Order's worlds have become beacons of light against the dark, bastions of hope and salvation. And not only that, their forces somehow are appearing across the Dark Imperium, reinforcing desperate worlds and turning back the forces of chaos. How they hear these calls for aid, let alone navigate the madness of the warp alive, as yet remains a mystery. If it wasn't for the simple fact they remain across the rift, honestly I'd most likely have the Sacred Rose far higher in the ranking. However, as it is, they remain in fourth. Now, moving on into the top 3, things begin to get a little trickier here, at least for positions 2 and 3. In third, I've gone for the Order of the Ebon Chalice. Now, on first sitting down to do this ranking, my initial thought was for the Ebon Chalice to be number 1. From Terra itself to the surrounding systems, the Ebon Chalice dominates the inner sanctum of the Imperium. And so surely logic must dictate that they are the Order weathering the storm of chaos the best. Well, possibly not. Despite the expected strong position the Order benefits from, it's made very clear in the lore that they've actually suffered very heavy losses. And despite their location giving them the benefit of a strong supply of recruits, such is the amount of pressure being inflicted by the forces of chaos that the Order is apparently stretched to its very limit. If it wasn't for this being explicitly stated, I would have undoubtedly had these women number 1, from the benefit of their location alone. For surely, if any area of the Imperium is secure, then it must be Segmentum Solar. However, perhaps in testament to these women, it appears any security is achieved only because of their sacrifice. If the Imperium can redouble its efforts to eradicate chaos from the Segmentum, then the Ebon Chalice can surely rise to prominence. But as it stands, they can barely replace the losses they suffer. On to the final two. And in second, I have the Order of Our Martyred Lady, the poster girls of the Sisters, and the largest order amongst them, the traditional powerhouse. That said, these sisters have most definitely suffered in recent years, just as all their fellow orders. With the bulk of their territory being located north of Terra, they found their order fully split into two by the emergence of the Great Rift. Now they fight a war within both halves of the Imperium. However, unlike the devastation that appears to have befallen the Argent Shroud, the Martyred Lady are everywhere. There is no mystery surrounding this order, for they are taking the fight to the enemy like no other. Every war zone in this portion of the galaxy feels their wrath. From Armageddon to Cadia to the Nakmund Gauntlet. On the face of it, they are the complete opposite to the Ebon Chalice, where one looks strong at first glance due to their location, but is in fact struggling. With Our Martyred Lady, you'd expect them to be weak, but in fact they remain strong. Rather than references to their plight, you find only tales of their defiance. Now yes, of course, in being the poster women of the faction, they are the equivalent of the Ultramarines, so perhaps you shouldn't expect anything less. However, I think a far greater explanation is the sheer size of the Order. While they may be concentrated between Segmentum Solar and Obscurus, they are in fact spread across the entire galaxy. For all the tales of Guilliman bringing back Space Marine legions, we actually have a legion of the Sisterhood under our very noses. The numbers of Our Martyred Lady are immense, and so it doesn't surprise me that references to their struggles and suffering are, well, few and far between, because they truly have an entire Imperium's worth of recruits and supplies to call upon. Situational wise, they are at the very forefront of the war, but the truth is they are the only order that could have weathered the storm so well. And so finally, in first place, the order best situated for the current and future, the Order of the Bloody Rose. Alone of the orders, the Bloody Rose is located far to the galactic south, within Segmentum Tempestus. Though the entire galaxy is embattled in war, the Bloody Rose are far from the madness of Imperium Nihilus, or for that matter the Great Rift, or indeed the enemy's focal point of the throne world of Terra. And so for me, they have by far and away one of the stronger locations. They also benefit from a particularly large area of main territory, meaning their numbers of recruit and supply will too be strong. Though they counter the threats of the unknown Xenos entering from the edge of the galaxy, such as tendrils of the Tyrannid race, the fact that the Order has been able to reinforce areas along the Great Rift says a lot. They are quite clearly one of the strongest orders at this time, and short of a major hive fleet emerging at their borders, they are by far the best situated order as we move forward. Yes, undoubtedly they have benefited from luck, being far removed from the centres of chaos. But that doesn't mean they aren't ready for the challenge, as can be seen by their sisters appearing across the galaxy. The fact that they appear to be prioritising action along the Great Rift says everything it needs to. These sisters fear no enemy. And so for me, it just has to be the Bloody Rose claiming that top spot. They really have almost everything going for them. Size, strength, location. Of all the orders of the Sisterhood within the Grim Dark, the Bloody Rose appear poised to shine the brightest. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you agree with my ranking or do you disagree? What is your own personal ranking of the major orders? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.